Hey, sorry, you have your recording paused. First of all, let me just
Do I?
point that out for you.
No. Yeah, I do. Okay.
Yeah, fire up the recording. To all you in
Hashtag that shit.
hashtag that shit. Fucking turn the recording on.
Yeah.
Marketvitals.io. It's markets we talk. Please share the podcast and the stream. We do not want retweets and likes. Yeah, we do want retweets. What am I? I got it all mixed up. Anyway, if you're listening to this on a podcast, we will do our best to talk about price discovery in a fashion that you will be able to understand from audio only. Matt, the Chinese like eights, and right now the spoos are 3888, as far as I can tell.
I've been around there all day too, right around that.
8888.
Inside day, Bob, as they say. Inside.
Yeah, it's
inside.
Man, what a great day today would have been in a trading pit. Just back and forth you go.
Hi ho.
Price discovery and just go to lunch, go down to Rivers, have 3 or 4 cocktails, come back up for the close. You're snookered, get a 12-pack for the train ride, win another couple hundred playing gin on the train. Those were the days, my friend. You know what, Matt?
Are you gonna bring up like a picture of Archie Bunker? You're gonna make me cry.
No, Archie's canceled. We canceled Archie. No more. You can't find an episode anywhere.
Clarence Thomas was canceled because just because.
What did he like? Is it something that he liked?
No, he basically said, all you that voted against hearing this case.
No, yeah, with the Supreme Court. He wasn't the only one. There was plenty of.
I know, but now he's being canceled.
It's unreal. I mean, please don't cancel us. Hey, fuck you. You try to cancel us, I'm coming over to your house and knocking on the door. Anyway, Matt.
Hey, Bob, here's what's going to, we should talk about this a little bit because we've, the swinging pendulums, right? We've swung to the emasculinity of.
Hey, by the way, our friend Coaxin, or however you pronounce it, he did a little investigative research for us, and unfortunately, toxicmasculinity.com is taken.
Bummer.
Or was it toxic, or was it just what masculinity were we talking about?
It was probably just masculinity. But I think we go back to 1990 when we had the Fight Club, and I think we're going to go back to those times where, the quote from that movie is what,
whatever happens at Fight Club stays at Fight Club.
Not that
well,
one.
That's Vegas.
There's also one about great men become soft, basically, when they become great, and then weak men become great because they were, because they're down. So you have to have, the whole point is without cycles, this is all I want to bring up, without having price discovery, true price discovery, up and down the river. And when you have intervention like we've had now for what, 25, 30 years now.
Yeah, really? Because everybody said the cycle was too bad. The down was too rough.
You have this intervention going on in government down, right? And it just gets pushed into every branch of government, including the FOMC, trying to prop us up. Like, we can't handle the heat. You can't handle the truth, so we're not going to give it to you. I say, fuck that. Give us all the truth. Hammer the market. I'll buy it. It'll go up again. Right? I mean,
how about did you see the YouTube of the parking situation at Mount Bachelor done to the Hitler?
Oh, I sent it to you. Yeah.
You said, I gotta tell you, that was incredibly well done. Anyway, Matt, missing Chicago when I see a Bulls logo, and I had not seen this before. It says Bulls logo looks. Matt, how about you take over for a second, because I'm fairly sure. Bring up a chart. Talk about anything. I have to take this phone call.
Oh, my God.
Jump right to the spoos and what a chop fest it is. I'm serious.
I'm going to jump right to, we're going to talk a little Bitcoin in relation via, an ETF called Grayscale Bitcoin, Bob. This thing peaked as did the Bitcoin up here at 61.85. This is almost a mirror chart of the Bitcoin. And if you're looking for a low risk entry, we're back kind of where this is. And it's interesting that this almost trades in 1,000th of Bitcoin. So it's trading 44.95. If we were to bring up Bitcoin, it's trading, I think right now, it's down again today, but down 3% to 47,785. But we continue to hold lower here, Bob, and Bitcoin does not look strong. I talked about this yesterday. Your momentum models or whatever were getting all frothy, and you were telling me you were bullish again, but I don't see it. Nothing changed. Matter of fact, it was just to sell the rally back there to 50,000, and this is rolling back over. I think we have to at least test 43 before we can be done with this. And then if we go through 43, Bob, we're still going to go down to 37,000. So keep that in mind. There's some danger still in the path of Bitcoin unless it can close back over 52 and change. To me, I think you've got to be short. And like I said, that grayscale is another way for people to play it, almost directly correlated with this. So it's a good item to take a look at. A number of I wanted to talk a little bit about Zoom today also, because this is kind of interesting. I was looking at it. It had an after hours spike yesterday, and I'm going to come to a 5-minute price discovery. And I didn't understand what had happened. I really wasn't following it. Zoom, Bob, since we're on Zoom and using their product, I figured we'd talk a little Zoom. It had a weird price day yesterday. It was up with the rest of the market, but just kind of nominally and normally. And then it had a spike. I don't know what the news was, but
they came out with earnings and they blew it off the doors.
All right. Well, they blew it off the doors. And okay, so this is even more interesting. I was not involved, but I actually had some sell orders in there at 450 that filled, and I woke up today and they're down here to 384. So, and the reason I did was pretty simple. It was just looking at this chart again. It was an old high, and unless we, closed through there, which we only traded up there after hours yesterday, so you had to have your order in. It didn't trade there today. It was very fast. It happened last night, and it traded up to like 455 or so. But the point is, we're right back into balance on an 89-minute. So if you like the Zoom story and you think that lockdowns are going to continue and shove it up your ass is going to continue with the vaccines and the testing, then you probably want to buy Zoom in this area, because it's, as long as that, kind of this lower 360 level holds and we're sitting here at 385, it may be a buying opportunity. So I just wanted to point that out. I found that to be kind of interesting, but more interesting to me is these short squeezes, even on a good news, aren't lasting very long. You're not sucking in anybody but anybody that got short in the hole here, basically. And that took us right back to a level where it should have gone up higher. It should have gone to 490 if there were buyers, but it didn't, Bob. So I'd be wary of this. To me, looking again at the chart, this thing has been in a solid downtrend now since last fall. October.
The other thing that I found interesting on their earnings call was the incredible growth that they think they're going to have through 2022.
Hey, Bob, breaking news. I don't know how to tell you this, but reggae legend Bunny Wailer died today, 73. So Bob Marley and the Wailers, people, just in case you don't know. So he was one of the founding members, died today in Jamaica, man. And sad day for all of Jamaica and all of the world for reggae, from the reggae world.
All right, Matt. Well, I hate coming to this gift now after that sad news.
I know, but I had. You had to take that call. So
thanks for the segue, unfeeling bastard. This is the Bulls logo upside down, and by George, there is it took me a while to see the alien. Do you see the alien or the spaceman?
Yep.
Hold on.
His head.
Hold on. See, you see his eye, and his hands are kind of like this.
Yep, on the crab.
And the crab is going, hey, what did I do? Like, lay off me. Come on.
So
what are you doing to me?
So the Bulls are crustacean alien lovers? Is that what's going on?
I think it's crustacean sodomizers, the way I'm looking at it. Seems unfair for the crab.
Maybe
that's how crabs originated. Anyway.
It seems that the aliens are crushing crustaceans.
Boom, boom. All right, man, I saw this tweet. I thought it was interesting. and we're going to get back to this in the crypto segment. But again, how we don't know what we think we know, because archaeologists have discovered that the Chumash Indians were using standardized shell beads 2,000 years ago, suggesting currency usage. This pushes the origins of money in the Americas back by only an extra 1,200 years. Again, they got it wrong. And I got to tell you, we have vigorous debates in my family in particular around money. And one of those things that money, these things have been around for a long time. I have a hard time thinking you're going to change a system that's been useful in humanity for eons, as far as we can tell, right? I don't know. We're going to come back to it because that is part of the driving story in crypto, is the use case that central banks have screwed the pooch on this. And we need to talk about a different monetary system. And also, when we get to the blockchain, this one I thought was interesting because Japanese whiskey producers decided to sign up for the first ever set of Japanese whiskey regulations. Apparently, it's left a large part of the world's whiskey drinking. They need to catch up. Basically, Japanese wide whiskey makers were selling Japanese whiskey that wasn't actually Japanese whiskey. It reminded me of the story of Templeton Rye. They had to settle a class action suit. Templeton, the good stuff, supposedly coined by Al Capone, Chicagoan himself, and that was the whiskey that he preferred, the Templeton Rye. And they were selling about 4 times as much as they could manufacture in their Iowa facility. You think about the breadbasket, Iowa, honesty. Again, people fail each other all the time, left, right, and center. And these people from Iowa, they're not going to shortchange us on Templeton Rye. Oh yeah, they were, because they were buying it from anybody that could make some rye, and they could buy it wholesale and put it into their Templeton Rye bottle, the good stuff. But anyway, blockchain, maybe it can help with supply chain and honesty around so many things. I don't know. I thought that was interesting. And the Japanese, healthy appetite for whiskey and scotch, by the way. Anyway, we're going to get back to that.
By the way, Bob, more breaking news. Texas governor says statewide mask mandate ends March 10th, and all businesses can reopen 100% capacity.
Matt, I just want them to end the mask mandate on Mount Bachelor. I could give a shit about anything else. Tell you the truth.
Hey, but that's the first state. I'm telling you.
How about this, Matt? Fellow Chicagoan Jim Belushi, now also with us as a fellow Oregonian.
Yes. Have you seen his show? On Discovery Network?
I have not. But Jim, he quit the Windy City also and moved west, young man.
Yeah, his show is. I think it's called Being Jim Belushi, farmer, and it's about his cannabis operations down there in Medford, which you and I are pretty familiar with what's going on, obviously in the state, and he's been down here growing for a few years. It was a pretty entertaining, document, not a documentary, but a reality series is what it is. And the people that are on his farm, by the way, are what. Probably that's the part that's got to change. Like the people that work on these places, dude. I don't know. It's
just sketchy as can be.
It's sketch.
Very sketch. Well, when you take
but I think when you're paid in devil's lettuce, I guess that's a cheap wage.
It ain't the devil's lettuce, by the way. Don't you blaspheme cannabis like that. I thought this was fun. Jim Belushi, cannabis being illegal in Hawaii is like outlawing Budweiser at a Chicago Bears game.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more on both counts. I'm a big fan of a large macro 16-ounce beer that costs me about a third as much as the ticket of the price of the ticket. Nothing I enjoy more than like going for a round of 4 beers and needing like $60 to go do it at a football game.
So anyway, I gotta say, in the show, he's developed in the very first show. He's got Dan Aykroyd. He's got all his famous friends kind of coming on and talking about how Jim's always been, kind of does things his own way. And then he brings in this grower called Captain Jack, who's making this strain, right? Captain Jack strain. And then they go into the backstory about Captain Jack. He was basically the drug dealer for the SNL cast, including his brother, John Belushi. And so Belushi and Aykroyd basically hired the guy who was their dealer in New York to come and, grow this great strain called Captain Jack. I don't want to ruin it, but the first season, the very first episode doesn't go so well for Jim Belushi as the monkeys that I just said that he hired to take care of these plants. They had some doctor appointment or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And Jim had to go in there and let's just say in the greenhouse, he put on this spray and then you're supposed to turn the lights out. They came in the next morning, the lights were still on. It didn't go well.
All right. Also getting in two things I noticed here from Seth Rogen. Seth, hit a drive-through. Like, what are you on? If you like weed so much, how come you look like you're wasting away? And I hope he's not sick. That would be just like me to say something like that.
Oh, yeah. No, I thought the same thing. I'm like, wow, you look like you actually aren't healthy. So that's not a good advertisement for your house plant lighter box deal that I saw him talk about. And again, can't you make a lot more money doing a silly movie that takes you 3 weeks to make and you get paid $39 million? I mean, why would you care about it?
When I saw that, they're making ashtrays, lighters, and ceramics. Ceramics meaning tubes. We already talked about, what is it? Graphics, geographics.com. I haven't gone to Houseplant yet to see what their bong selection is.
Well, I think you should reach out to Seth and tell him we'd like him to be, an anchor sponsor with Houseplant here at Market Vitals. We'll happily promote his box lighter and everything that he has and ceramics.
As we talk about price discovery. Because at the end of the day, Matt, all these are businesses and the big boys are publicly traded. Prerolls surged nearly 50% last year in key recreational markets, defying expectations. I don't know how you could say it's defying expectations. Everybody's locked at home. Roll me some spleefs. I don't know what I'm going to do today, but I know one thing. I'm rolling, I don't want to roll the fatty again. I'll just buy the pre-rolled. Anyway,
Bob, you go into your dispensary and your bud tender. I saw a guy the other day who was in there and he was asking about all these pre-rolls and the bra behind the counter at Tokyo was just like, hey, he was the one bra was asking the other bra, hey, what do you recommend for pre-rolls? And he gave him five or six solutions. It was great. It was fantastic watching the interaction and the transaction happen.
Oh,
the knowledge being shared. The knowledge being shared, brah, was unbelievable. And these are the same guys, by the way, that are killing it in GameStop. So I love it.
Right, exactly. Two things, Matt, that I thought would happen. I haven't been to the coast in several months, but the last time I was at the coast, I saw a sign on a dispensary, and it was $15 quarters, quarter ounces for $15. Right? Used to be 100. They've 10x the other way. 125 to 150 bucks for a good quarter ounce of weed back when people were telling me how much it costs for their habit. But so I had always thought that marijuana now is a commodity and there's got to be a race to the bottom here.
Well, also in the first episode of the Jim Belushi show, I'm going to ruin the first show, but you'll like it. You need to go watch it.
You'll like it anyway.
You'll like it anyways.
Guaranteed, probably.
The first show, he's got this huge plastic container that I think earlier was storing their cheese puffs from Costco. One of those like.
Oh yeah. The cheese puff container. Yeah. The jumbo party size.
Whenever anybody kind of fucks something up at the Belushi farm, he hands out cheese pods, right? Cheese puffs. Anyways, when that thing was empty, he filled it up with the Belushi special Kush flour, whatever they call it. And he was driving up to Portland from Medford, which, by the way, is not a short drive. That's a 5 or 6 hour trip to sell 1 pound. He was hoping to sell 1 pound of this flour of his Belushi special at $900 a pound. And his CFO was with him saying, hey, Jim, the market is $500 per pound. And then Jim basically said, do you know who I am? The brand should carry some worth. And the guy just went like, eh. And so they get there, and the true price discovery in the market starts happening at the dispensary. The dispensary owner's like, hey, dude, yeah, I'd love to buy this. He goes, I'll give you $500 a pound. And Belushi's like, no, I was thinking $900. And he's like, yeah. And he said, I was thinking 900 because, I'm giving you an appearance. I'm showing up at your store and, I'm Jim Belushi. The guy goes, I'll give you 600. And Belushi goes, no. And then he goes, okay, well, when you come back here, we'll talk about 500 then when you come back. And so he leaves. He totally got schmeezed by the price discovery. And again, I've talked about this before. Like, I think the opportunities for premium brand, for people with a name, whether it's Snoop Dogg, whether it's Seth Rogen, only goes so far, because to your point, is it really going to get you especially higher or less? I don't know. I mean, whatever it is that you're looking for, is it really going to do any more than any other hybrid mix product that you think that you can have? I don't know. But
not only do I know, then the answer is no. Like the answer is no. It's like, here's this joint and it's got a Snoop Dogg, imprint on it, and
right.
It's $9. Here's the same joint, the same THC, and it's $4. Why would I give a shit?
I'm going to buy the HFR logo for $2 myself.
Let's go. All right, let's talk about the commoditization of marijuana and what it means for price discovery. What do you got? You got a marijuana stock that we can talk about that we haven't yet?
I don't really have a fresh new name in the space. Honestly, I was talking a little bit, but I really don't, Bob. I don't really have a.
So let's look at one of the big boys and just see.
Let's take a look at weed, because it's easy. And WEED, which is Canopy, which is a big boy, and this is this is trading in the Toronto Exchange. I just pulled up which is actually where it's housed. It's traded also in the US, I believe, as CGC, Canopy Growth Corporation. But let's just look at the Toronto Exchange version, since we haven't looked at that one in a while. Again, peaked out at 71.76 here.
And that's Canadian dollars, am I correct?
That's Canadian dollars. That peaked out here, 71.76. And, it's kind of trying to find a bottom, and somewhere down in here, balance starts to come in again on the longer term chart, $36. We're trading 44. It's hard for me to step in front of this kind of cascading price action right here, Bob. So it's, I'd be tentative right now. I don't want to buy it. I don't want to sell it. I'm kind of in a pause mode. And that's really been where most of these names have been for quite some time. So I just wanted to point that out. Tilray, which we have mentioned here occasionally, also when it ran up, we were long on that run up to 76, although I got out probably around 45. That blow off I was not involved with. But since then, it has come back again, starting to get near the top of that profile here, $23. It actually traded there 2 or 3 times in the last few days. So this one is a more attractive chart to me on a price action basis. But again, there's some big holes in here that could be filled in pretty quickly. And, risk is really down to this 9 level. So that's still a significant haircut that come. It's difficult for me to buy this. How's that again?
You know what, too, man? And I got to just tell you, for me, talking about a commodity, it's a niche commodity, right? And it is so easy to grow. I'm not kidding you. The average person that likes an occasional puff could grow 2 plants and basically have a lifetime supply of weed. One year you grow and you're
right.
done. You're done. I mean, so for me, it's like you could grow, like people are really good at growing tomatoes, right? Homegrown tomatoes. Great song by Guy Clark, by the way. There are only 2 things that money can't buy, Matt, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes. Guy Clark, got to check the song. It's a great tune. But like, you can't grow tomatoes this year enough to last you a lifetime.
True. Not unless you're gonna can them, stew them, put them into.
Yeah, that's a lot. I'm just talking like you can grow 2 or 3 plants and have, 3 or 4 pounds of flour.
Right.
I mean, it's insane, and that's the problem I have with the space. Yeah, it's going to get legalized everywhere, and it's so basically. It's going to end up being marketing plays, because the commoditization of it is going to be fast and furious, and there'll be a race to the bottom on price.
Right.
For sure. All right, Matt, before we jump to crypto, I just wanted to bring this
and
little.
again, the other thing that still matters there, Bob, is these guys the growers can't sell outside of their state. So it really prevents, if you're in a large state like Michigan versus Oregon, you got double the population, but you can't buy product from Oregon and you can't sell product from Oregon to Michigan. That might be a more interesting thing for me, because I think that states that have more experience, obviously in the West Coast, in growing, legally and black market, they're much better out here. So I think you could get some regionality that plays into the prices if the feds, allowed for interstate transactions when it comes to weed. But that would be you would literally have to have all 50 states legalized. You'd have to,
I think that happens sooner than later, though. I think
it'll happen. It'll happen in the next 3 to 5 years, I believe.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree.
So, but not until that happens. Not until that happens will we get this type of premium bump. Is all I'm saying in the commodity, right? I just don't think
right on.
Yeah.
We talked about it, and it happened, Matt. Gas price, the RBOB futures anyway, since election night, doubling. And why don't we pull up an RBOB chart just to see how painful this could get, or maybe if we're going to see some settling out on these longer term charts that might give pause to the freak out factor that is coming down the pipeline with filling the gas. I still haven't been shocked yet on filling the tank of gas yet, but I know that's coming.
Well, I mean, shocked is relative. I mean, you see it, you feel it, but we also know that that we've kind of taken a break when it comes to crude prices, but they bounce back today. But this may be kind of the start of a rollover in both of them. Let me share my screen since we are talking about RBOB. And again, we talked about this before, Bob, but huge move. I mean, I'm trying to bring up a 610-minute chart. I think the last time we talked about it was $1.60. Went to $2 now, and the low was down here below $1 on election night. So again, a straight out double. The trend is still strong. This is a long-term chart, but I don't want to chase it. It's a little late now. You've kind of had a doubling of a very big commodity. And the demand now, I think, has got to catch up with the prices, right? So are we actually going back to work? Well, in Texas, you could argue, we're going back to work. Everybody's, full on open there again. But you got to kind of look at this in the long term. Remember, this traded as low. Again, all assets are one. We'll go back to the same story. All assets are one. This was as low as 38 cents in March when everything else bottomed. So that's kind of interesting. And we've talked a little bit about the highs in the past. We haven't been this high since 2018 when we were, what was it, 270 or so. I remember that. I remember that run up in RBOB, and then fell off, and then we had another crazy run up. And again, these things are usually policy driven. So even during Trump's time in office, I will point out that we were trading, $1 higher than where we are today, Bob. Not $1, excuse me, 30 cents higher. So if we broke through that would be a significant level, and one that I would have to, knock on your liberal friends' doors and say, "Are you feeling it now? I mean, is this now what you wanted?" Because
all right, fractal out even further. Is there a spot on that chart that is hell and gone? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we've traded up to 360, and that was during, obviously, that was during the Bush years. That was 08 at the end of his second term. So, and then, during Obama and the 11s, it got up there again, 340, but it never got to the highs that we saw during that real blow off there. And I think that was like the spring, summer of the crisis, right? The 08, 09
right.
Started the crisis when that kind of went crazy. So that was an interesting time. But again, natural gas we've talked about is fallen back, and and that relates more to heating than it does cars and gasoline. So natural gas, we talked about this again yesterday, had a nice little pullback and continues to look, I think, pretty good on the pullback of this area. Let me see if I can pull it up now that I promised to. And that is looking a little bit different, right? That's the opposite. It kind of pulled back. And again, we talked about this a few days ago. If you wanted to buy it back here in the 260s was a good area. It's already gone up to, traded almost 290. It's at 285 right now. And in the meat, this looks strong to me. I mean, to me, this is a good looking chart. Like if if you're looking for an opportunity and and you believe in the super cycle and everything that's going on, good time of year on a pullback here to acquire some natural gas possibly. And some of the names related to that on the stock side.
All right, Matt, we are going to just talk a little bit about crypto in 1 second here as we roll the tape. And let's roll the tape. All right, crypto after dark. It's after dark when you tell secrets, Matt, and truths get revealed. And I want to bring this up because they just don't stop. All right, and this is from our friend Mike Novogratz. Bitcoin will break 100 grand a Bitcoin in 2021. Mike, are you buying are you buying the 100 grand calls? Or like, are you putting, I mean, the guy's got a lot of money. I see he doesn't have to worry. He's post-economic. Anyway, let me share, Matt, and jump to the chart because it's interesting to me how this market is behaving. And so we had this pretty substantial wash down, right? And then a big up day yesterday, but no follow through, right? I think that's something you have to pay attention to.
Yeah,
it couldn't recapture the average on the daily, and it's just like if this thing truly was going to go to 100,000 in some short order, they're going to recapture the average and they're going to recapture the up momentum level. And right now, it's not acting like that. It's 1 day up, capturing and squeezing the weak shorts that they put in over the last 3 days, right? And then just a continuation of the drubbing.
And this is what happened. This is what happens, Bob, again, in these transitional periods. And since we're in mostly a market where all assets are one, I think you're seeing this exactly. We talked about
it's very interesting to see. Obviously, it's Tuesday. Is it Tuesday, Matt? I keep losing the days of the week.
It is Tuesday.
It is Tuesday. A lot of the week left, but unable to capture much. In fact, they went right into the bottom of the value range from last week. And again, just looking forward as we evolve the week, that momentum level 46,213. Very key. Now, if we put in 2 weeks in a row lower, if this thing keeps rolling over like it looks like it wants to on the daily, we build this story, right, from long to short or short to long on a time frame basis. And I'm still, I'm not involved. Let me just say that. I am not involved. And there are plenty of alarm bells in my mind going off. And today's price action being front and center on it. And it's very hard for me to jump in any of the altcoins. And let me say that again. And there's a great move in ADA, this coin. And I look at it, I'm like, God damn, that's a great move. But if Bitcoin washes back out to 19,000, how are these coins going to stay on the moon? I just don't see how it's possible.
Right. Well, but Mike Novogratz says 100,000 in the next 9 months of this year. So,
and I'm reminded of Tommy Lee saying, Fundstrat, who, by the way, has killed it in the stock market. Let's give Tommy Lee credit. I mean, he has absolutely killed this rally. But he also called for Bitcoin back to 20,000, and it took it 2 years to do that, with him chirping the whole way down that that's where it was going and going to go there. Anyway, it's all about time frame, leverage, and risk, and those are conversations that, Bitcoin at 100 grand is a great thought, Mike. I appreciate that. But should I buy the June $100,000 calls and it settles out at June at 44,000 and I lose my money on or December? It's just, where are you wrong, Mike? Where are you wrong? What's the time? That's great. I don't know. That's what I got to say about that.
okay, I talked a little bit about crypto while you were on your
I had the phone call from the
you were on the
screechy
Bitcoin.
car guy.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about Fizz, which is National Beverage Corp, which is, again was a Reddit bruh favorite there when it ran all the way up to $100. And I said it should take 2 weeks, and I want to point this out, 2 weeks for it to return to probably 50, and it's trading 48 today. So again, the story continues to play out. The longer this goes, it'll drip back down here to 40, and then it'll drip back down to wherever it was. If you don't know National Beverage Corp, they basically have one product probably that you've heard of. Do you know what it is, Bob?
National Beverage Corporation.
The symbol is Fizz. It's a hint.
Hint me again, Matt.
Okay, so they have the product that you have had, and I probably have in my fridge right now is LaCroix. They make the LaCroix
water with bubbles.
So between GameStop, and LaCroix, and guess how many? These guys are a small player when it comes to the beverage market. They got lucky. They somehow hit it off with LaCroix, but as well as I do that these beverages come and go, and I'm sure this thing has peaked in its livelihood. And I fractaled out here a little bit to go back to 2017 when this thing had traded as high 63. And again, still looks decent. This is a weekly chart, Bob, and that's why we need to fractal in and fractal out. But it had this nice move up here that happened also from, again, the low of last year when this thing was trading in the teens. So this thing goes from the teens all the way up to 100, 5x, and now is kind of sitting here. And to me, it's looking heavy. It's looking like it wants to fill in this hole down in here. Why don't you wait until this thing is maybe $20 to $30 before you look at buying it again, and maybe considering, what's going on with it. The only reason it went up is because of Reddit. That is not an investment strategy I want to continue to tell people to avoid. Avoid the bulletin boards on Reddit. Avoid anybody that's pumping shit. It doesn't last. It never lasts. And hopefully, as these things start to fall further, people learn their lessons. But the only way you can learn is to go through one of these story stocks. And that's why I don't like stories. You like stories? I don't like them.
I love stories. I love stories, Matt. We are humans.
I love them.
Humans depend on stories. But you're right. I've always said
those stories, though. I like to sell
stories. Have gotten me in more trouble than anything else. Like, the story's great. In fact, I think too that a good metric that you should have is when the story is at like if it was the pitch level or the loudness of the story is at 11 and the chart is telling you something different, you better pay attention to the chart, because everybody that is talking it is wrong. Then that's why you get these moves.
I was listening to the latest Market Wizards book by Jack Schwager, and one of the guys in the latest book, which is about traders that nobody's heard of, was a guy that created this company called Ticker Tapes, I think it was what it called, and he sold the company. It was a software company that basically was going out there, and he wrote a software that kind of read hashtags and multiple words. It was more of a kind of a cultural thing, and what was kind of, what were people willing to buy, back before people knew what Fizz was, before they knew, if you kind of think about it, the Peter Lynch model of buying what you know. So he kind of used what people were talking about on whether it was Facebook, Twitter, all the different channels, right? And he would write this program that basically scraped that data, and he was able to tell very positively before prices moved what people were talking about and what they were going out and spending their money on. And it was kind of an interesting model, because it was, from a trading perspective, I've never, it makes sense, but I've never heard of like using that type of tool. He sold that tool to hedge funds, and the company that bought it, like you and I can't even, I guess even if you wanted to, you basically have to be working probably for a certain size hedge fund to even acquire the monthly data. They won't sell it to you and I think even if you wanted to pay for it. So I find that to be kind of interesting also. The point is there's a lot of different ways to skin the market, and come up with something that works for you consistently, and come up with something that makes sense for you. And this person doesn't really like to trade, and to me, that's more of a long-term thing. You buy something based on what you see before anybody else does, and you take advantage of that. It's no different than trading based on price, but it's not price related. So I find, and he also used it to find a number of shorts, right? And he would be able to differentiate between, a short-term short or a longer term, really, an Enron type situation, a fraudulent. So it's interesting. I thought the number of different ways that people use. Again, every time I read a Schwager book, I'm always like, wow, I never thought of that one. That's
I think that's important too, because as I've talked with trading and methodologies with people, very quickly you will get the question, well, why would somebody do that? And it's like the why, there's a million whys. It's an infinite on the why. The task is determining your why, your personalized why, not why anybody else is interacting in the market, because there's
and you have and really you have to match up what works for you and your time frame and the methodology, right? If you can't, most people don't have the stamina to trade for ticks all day on screen, scalping. It's not an easy thing to do because you have to stop a lot. Win or lose, you better have a really good makeup in your stature to be able to do that all day. That's not my style. I've never been one who could do that all day. So I trade on a little bit wider time frames with that in mind, Bob, and that works for me because I don't want to sit for every little scalp intraday. Because most days it's pretty quiet as far as day trading goes. Today's a perfect example. We're just staying within a range that we touched last night, and then we stayed below yesterday's high. So there's no new prices today, and to me, it actually, like you said, there's actually been 3 or 4 entries on both the bottom and the top if you just played that, and you have to be able to recognize what type of day it is early, however, to do that. And most people, come in with a understanding that, well, yesterday all we did is go one way, so then they think today is just going to go one way, and it doesn't work.
Exactly. You got to trade the market in front of you, not what you think it should be doing.
That's correct.
All right, Matt. Listen, I want to just take a second here and welcome the new members at Market Vitals. Ronaldus, Pike Man. I love a guy that comes in straight away with his nickname, Pike Man. Colin, Keith. Hold on, Chris and Ken and Roger. Welcome to marketvitals.io. Please, if you haven't visited the site, please visit and join marketvitals.io. We're building a community of accountability amongst traders around price discovery.
What's the price on that joining?
On what?
On joining. What is the price?
Oh, it's free. Come on in and ask questions. Yeah, you got to join though to get the free content, right?
That's right.
You join and much like this, kind of like a virtual pit, much like a pit where you could turn to a trader who was in fact a trader, right? Because he was standing next to you. That made him a trader in the pit. Like you can't stand in the pit if you're not a trader. Hey, I'm long or I'm short, or I'm thinking about buying the bonds, or I'm thinking about shorting the SPOOs, or you see the Canadian dollar. What do you think? I'm long. I bought calls. And it reminds me of a story when my nephew first started trading, and he said, "Uncle Bob, I'm long the Canadian dollar," and I said, "You're going to get killed on that trade." And he said, "Uncle Bob, why do you got to be so negative?" I said, "I'm actually not. I'm positive that you're going to lose money on that trade." I'm not negative at all, but that's just me. That's my opinion, and believe me. Right. Especially when you're not seeing the ball right. The batting coach doesn't say a thing to the guy when he goes 4 for 4 3 games in a row. Not a thing, right? But when he is swinging and the bat is actually hitting the dirt, right? Then the coach steps in and starts helping the guy along his path of being that 300 hitter that he is. Same with trading and same with the community. If I don't expect you to ask me a question about a trade that you're killing it on, but there's incredible use to have a community around you when you're not seeing the ball particularly well, and also just to help on that risk and reward dialogue that has helped me along my career so many times, having a community around me of traders that are willing to be honest. Even if it's a counter to my position. I mean, that is the most genuine thing you can have in a trading friend is somebody to look you square in the eye and say, dude, please get out. Please get out of this trade, man. It's
And if you don't have conviction, it doesn't mean you have to sit in something until you get to your risk either, right?
absolutely.
So, like
Absolutely.
I
And
think, I
sometimes
think
just that little nudge is enough.
and I think the hardest thing to do as a trader is to every day look at it like independently and go, would I get long here, this name or this commodity today? Would I do it? I think even when you have a position on and maybe it's been going up and you're long and you're making some money, but how long has that trade been on? Is it really working? Is it really matching what you do? Maybe your capital would be better deployed by taking the profits that you have because it's been longer than you would like for it to be, and and move that capital onto the next idea. It doesn't mean you have to sit in these trades, and truly hodl. And I think a time component is important regardless of your time frame that you're behaving on. I think it's, if you have, if you're a trader like me that is looking for kind of a move to come in the next 0 to 3-4 weeks, then you should probably be out if the thing hasn't moved in, anywhere from a week and a half to 3 weeks. You probably, misread it.
Yeah. And that's counterintuitive nuance.
It is. But I think sometimes, for me, sometimes I have positions on my book that I may be, up or flat or down a little bit that I'm tired of looking at them and I just need to push them off. And then sometimes, and I can always get back in either direction. That's the great thing. And sometimes just taking your mind off of something maybe that you've obsessed about in the markets allows you that freedom. And I think that's a really important, again, nuance for people to realize that is difficult unless you've had that experience, right? You don't have to take the full loss, whatever that is, whatever you've acknowledged as your risk. You can take it off. Use a time stop. I kind of use, a lot of people will use kind of a combination of time stop and price action stop. So I just want to throw that out there, and it's something we could talk about further. But I think it's important that people recognize, how they play, what they play is as equally important on the time side of things as prices sometimes, because if it's not doing anything, it's dead money.
All right, Matt, thank you so much. Please, as we said, coming in, share, retweet. Forget about the likes. We don't care. And it's marketvitals.io, not .com, .org, .info, .ca, .eu, .ru. You know what .ru is, do you?
Russia?
Yeah, .ru, Russia. Sure.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, thank you so much. I will talk to you later. A big game coming up here for us in a couple hours.
Go Blue, beat the Illini. I'm nervous. I told you. I'm really nervous.
Illini, he's going to be dancing around.
I think Dickinson's going to have his toughest match with the big
I agree with you 100%.
Because this guy he's probably got 20, 30 pounds and a wingspan even longer than Dickinson. He's a man. He's a man.
And again, the NCAA, it's the year of the big man. Unreal.
Yeah. Especially in the Big Ten.
Big Ten. All right, pal. I'll see you in a little bit.